You know that moment when your babysitter becomes your security detail? Yeah, me neither. Until the morning my entire life went up in flames while I was out buying overpriced artisanal coffee. My name is Mirabelle Frost, and I'm a video editor for a mid-sized production company in Portland, Oregon, the city where everyone has opinions about sustainability, but nobody can afford a house. That Friday morning in mid-November started like any other. Rain-optional jacket weather, Jade demanding her unicorn backpack for absolutely no reason, and me running 20 minutes behind schedule because apparently 5-year-olds operate on a different space-time continuum. It was a teacher planning day, which meant Jade's kindergarten was closed, and I'd arranged for Guinevere to watch her all day. Small blessing that turned into the thing that saved my life, though I didn't know it yet. I grabbed my laptop bag, kissed Jade's syrup-sticky cheek, and headed for the door at 8 sharp. Guinevere, our babysitter, 20 years old with purple hair and 3 nose piercings that made my mother physically recoil at Thanksgiving last year, was pouring cereal into Jade's favorite bowl. The girl was a godsend, showed up on time, never scrolled her phone during playtime, and actually remembered to check Jade's homework folder. My hand was literally on the doorknob when Guinevere grabbed my elbow. The grip was urgent, desperate even. "Mirabelle," she whispered, pulling me into the hallway where Jade couldn't hear. She never called me by my first name. Always, Mrs. Kemp, or Jade's mom. Red flag number 1. Today, try to come back after 4 o'clock, okay? I'm taking Jade to the children's library this morning, then the park. We'll grab lunch at that food truck she loves. Don't come home early. Please, trust me. Her voice cracked on that last word. I stared at her, confused and increasingly alarmed. "Guinevere, what's going on? Is everything okay?" She glanced back toward the kitchen where Jade was singing some incomprehensible song about dinosaurs and friendship. "Just, please, after 4. I'll explain everything later, I promise. But right now, you need to go to your meeting, and I need to get Jade out of here for the day." I should have pressed harder. Should have demanded answers. Should have canceled my client meeting right then and marched back inside my own house and figured out what warranted this level of panic from a 20-year-old who once calmly handled Jade projectile vomiting in the back of my Honda Civic. But I was already late. My client was a tech startup with more venture capital than common sense, and they were paying premium rates for a promotional video that would probably get 17 views on YouTube. I couldn't afford to lose them. "Okay," I said slowly, still completely baffled. "After 4. Got it." Guinevere's shoulders sagged with relief so profound you'd think I'd just agreed to donate a kidney. "Thank you. Thank you so much." I walked to my car, feeling like I'd just stepped into some weird alternate universe where babysitters issued cryptic warnings and I just went along with it. Very Twilight Zone. Very unsettling. But also very Portland, where everyone's always vaguely anxious about something that may or may not be an actual problem. The client meeting was downtown at a co-working space that smelled like cold brew and existential dread. We spent 90 minutes debating whether their logo should breathe more in the opening sequence. I wanted to ask if logos had lungs, but I needed the paycheck, so I nodded and took notes and promised we'd explore more organic movement patterns. At 2 o'clock, my client's CEO, a 26-year-old named Dakota, who definitely had rich parents, got an urgent call from our investor and rescheduled the rest of our meeting for Monday, which meant I was suddenly free on a Friday afternoon in November, and the only logical move was to hit Voodoo Donut before they sold out of the maple bacon ones. I texted Guinevere. Meeting ended early. Grabbing donuts. See you around 2:45. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Okay. Jade and I are still at the park. See you later. Something about that text felt off. Too formal, too careful. But I was already in line behind a tourist wearing a Keep Portland Weird shirt that was deeply ironic given how aggressively normal he looked, and I was committed to those donuts. I got home at 2:43. Lawson's car was in the driveway. My husband, Lawson Kemp, 34, project manager at the same production company where I worked, possessor of mediocre opinions about craft beer and exceptional talent for leaving cabinet doors open, wasn't supposed to be home. He'd told me that morning he had project meetings all afternoon and would probably be late. 7 years. We'd been together 7 years, married for 6, and I'd never once questioned when he said he was working late. I walked up our front steps with a pink voodoo box in one hand and my keys in the other, and when I opened the door, Lawson was standing in the entryway like he'd just seen his own ghost. Behind him, emerging from our home office, our office, the one I'd painted sage green last spring and filled with plants I somehow kept alive despite my black thumb, was Milena Sharp. I'd met Milena exactly twice. Once at a company happy hour where she'd talked about disrupting the creative production space with the confidence of someone who'd never actually edited a frame of footage, and once at a holiday party where she'd complimented my earrings with the kind of enthusiasm that felt vaguely threatening. She was 29, worked in business development at our company, and had the kind of LinkedIn profile that used words like synergy without irony. And she was in my house, on a Friday afternoon, barefoot, holding one of my favorite mugs from my Portlandia collection. I looked at Lawson, looked at Milena, looked at the papers spread across our dining room table, and there were a lot of papers, way too many for a casual project meeting. "Hey, babe," Lawson said, and his voice cracked like a teenager caught sneaking back through a bedroom window. "You're home early." "Meeting canceled," I said flatly. "What's going on?" Milena smiled. Actually smiled. "Oh, Lawson and I were just working through some logistics for our new venture. Didn't he tell you?" No, he had not. My phone buzzed. Guinevere. I answered without breaking eye contact with my husband. "Yeah?" "Mirabelle, did you go home?" Her voice was panicked, guilty, desperate. "I tried to warn you this morning. Jade's with me at the park. She's totally fine, don't worry about her. I'll explain everything later, I promise. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what else to do." The pieces started clicking into place with the precision of a well-edited cut sequence. "What exactly did you hear, Guinevere?" Long pause. "Wednesday afternoon. I came back early with Jade because she forgot her favorite jacket, and they were in the office and I heard, God, Mirabelle, I heard everything. They were rehearsing, practicing what he was going to say to you, about the separation, about custody, about taking clients. I didn't know if I should tell you or mind my own business or quit or what, so every time they scheduled these Friday meetings, I made sure Jade was out of the house all day. I'm so sorry." I hung up, looked at the papers on my dining room table, and then I saw it. A spiral notebook, open, with a list of names written in Milena's aggressively neat handwriting. My client names. Every single person I'd spent 5 years cultivating, coffee date by coffee date, revision by revision, late-night deadline by late-night deadline. People who hired our company specifically because they trusted me. My contacts, my relationships, my professional reputation that I'd built from absolute scratch in a city where everyone knew everyone and word of mouth was currency. They were planning to poach them, all of them. "So," I said, setting the donut box on the counter with careful precision, "when exactly were you planning to tell me about your new venture?" Lawson's face went through approximately 7 stages of panic in 3 seconds flat. If I hadn't been busy processing the fact that my marriage was apparently a limited-run series getting canceled mid-season, I might have appreciated the performance. "Babe, this isn't what it looks like," he started, which is universally recognized as exactly what guilty people say when something is precisely what it looks like. "Really?" I walked over to the dining room table, careful not to make any sudden movements, like I was approaching a wild animal, or a man stupid enough to bring his affair partner into his wife's house to plan corporate espionage. "Because it looks like you're sitting in our home, the home we bought together, where our daughter lives, where I pay half the mortgage, strategizing how to torpedo my career with someone who's been here long enough to take her shoes off." Milena had the audacity to look offended. "Mirabelle, you're being incredibly hostile right now. We're just exploring opportunities." "Exploring opportunities," I repeated slowly, tasting each word like it was spoiled milk. "Is that what we're calling theft these days? Very corporate of you. I bet your LinkedIn bio says something about growth mindset, doesn't it?" She blinked. Score 1 for me. I picked up the notebook, flipped through pages of meticulous planning that would have been impressive if it wasn't literally designed to destroy everything I'd built. Client names, contact information, project histories, revenue projections, launch timeline, office space possibilities in the Pearl District. Of course they wanted the Pearl District, where rent costs more than my first car, but at least you can get $12 toast. Northwest Digital Studios, I read from the top of one page. Cute name. Very local. Did you workshop that over lattes, or did it come to you in a vision? Mirabelle, Lawson started. No, seriously. I'm curious about the creative process here. How long have you two been planning this? Give me a timeline. I'm a video editor. I appreciate a good story structure. Lawson and Milena exchanged a look. The kind of look that contained entire conversations, shared secrets, inside jokes I wasn't part of. That look hurt worse than the betrayal itself, which was really saying something considering the betrayal was pretty spectacularly painful. 3 months, Milena said finally, lifting her chin like she was proud of it. We started discussing possibilities in August. When I was busy editing that nonprofit campaign about childhood literacy. When I brought Lawson coffee at the office because he texted me about being stressed over deadlines. When we took Jade to the coast for a long weekend, and he held my hand on the beach and said he felt lucky. 3 months, I repeated. And during those 3 months, how many times did you have meetings in my house? Silence. Guinevere said you've been doing Friday mornings regularly. So that's what? 10 times? 12? Did you ever actually have real project work? Or was it always this? We did have legitimate work, Lawson said defensively. Milena and I manage several accounts together. Oh, I'm sure you manage several things together. His face flushed. Direct hit. I turned to Milena. Let me guess. You're the business brain, he's the operations guy, and I'm the inconvenient obstacle who actually knows all the clients and has the relationships you need to make this disaster viable. How am I doing? She pressed her lips together. Didn't deny it. Here's what I'm struggling to understand, I continued, setting the notebook down carefully because my hands were starting to shake and I refused to let them see me lose composure. You both work at a company with extremely clear non-compete clauses. I know because I read mine before signing. Did you think nobody would notice? Or were you banking on leaving me so broke and distracted with a custody battle that I wouldn't have resources to fight back? The custody arrangement would be amicable, Lawson said. We both love Jade. You love Jade so much, you were planning to move her closer to the new office without discussing it with her mother first? That's not love. That's logistics. There's a difference. I grabbed my phone and opened the camera app. Started photographing the notebook pages. Every single one. Client lists, revenue projections, office lease proposals, the whole beautiful, incriminating mess. What are you doing? Milena lunged forward. That's private business planning. In my house, I said calmly, continuing to photograph. Using my furniture. Drinking from my mug. After 3 months of lying to me. I think I've earned documentation rights. Lawson stood up. Mirabelle, come on. Let's talk about this like adults. Adults? I laughed, and it came out sharper than I intended. Adults don't rehearse breakup speeches. That's what Guinevere heard on Wednesday, by the way. You two practicing your lines like community theater actors preparing for the world's worst play. She came back early with Jade because our daughter forgot her jacket, and she heard everything. The custody plans. The client migration strategy. Your touching concern about how to handle Mirabelle during the transition. Lawson went pale. Guinevere was here Wednesday? Oh, did you not account for the babysitter in your master plan? Rookie mistake. She's been getting Jade out of the house every Friday morning since then, because she didn't want my 5-year-old daughter overhearing conversations about her parents' impending divorce. She's 20 years old, and she has more emotional intelligence than both of you combined. I finished photographing the documents and backed up the photos to cloud storage while they watched. Belt and suspenders approach. My documentary filmmaking professor in college always said good editors think 3 steps ahead. You know what the saddest part is? I said quietly. I actually believed you when you said you were working late. When you said Milena was just a colleague. And when you came home and kissed me and told me about your day and played with Jade before bedtime. I believed all of it. That's not on you. That's on me for being naive enough to think my husband wouldn't systematically dismantle my life while I was out earning money to pay for the house where you were plotting against me. Mirabelle? Lawson's voice cracked. I never meant to hurt you. No, you just meant to financially destroy me, take my daughter half the time, and steal my professional reputation. But sure, you never meant to hurt me. That makes it so much better. Milena grabbed her shoes. I think I should go. Oh, now you want to leave? Stay, please. I'm sure there's more planning to do. Maybe you two need to discuss marketing strategy. Come up with a mission statement. Northwest Digital Studios, building success on the ashes of someone else's career. It's a bit long, but very honest. She left anyway, shooting Lawson a look that clearly meant, call me later. The front door closed. Lawson and I stood in our living room, the room where we'd celebrated Jade's first steps, where we'd watched movies on winter nights, where I'd once felt safe, and looked at each other like strangers. What happens now? He asked. I smiled. Not a nice smile, not a friendly smile. The kind of smile that says someone just made a catastrophic miscalculation. Now? Now I make some phone calls. See you Monday, Lawson. I didn't go to a hotel, didn't dramatically pack bags or throw clothes out windows or any of the satisfying chaos you see in movies. Instead, I called Guinevere and told her to keep Jade occupied for another 2 hours. Then I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and those photographs I'd taken, and I did what I do best. I edited. Not video this time. Evidence. See, here's what Lawson and Milena hadn't considered in their 3 months of careful planning. I'm a video editor. My entire professional existence revolves around finding the story in raw footage, connecting dots, building narrative arcs that make sense. And more importantly, I've spent 5 years working at our company. I know where every digital body is buried. I started with the client list from Milena's notebook, cross-referenced it with our company's CRM system that I had completely legitimate access to as a senior editor, pulled every contract I'd worked on, every email thread, every project timeline, built a spreadsheet that would make an accountant weep with joy. Then I did something that felt slightly unethical, but was technically allowed under our employee handbook. I checked the company's shared drive for any documents Lawson or Milena had created in the past 3 months. Jackpot. They'd been sloppy, saving drafts of their business plan on the company server, using company email to communicate with potential landlords about office space. Milena had even used her work computer to research LLC formation in Oregon, and the browser history was backed up to our IT department's servers. Amateur hour. Truly. I made copies of everything, organized it into folders labeled with the kind of attention to detail that would make Marie Kondo proud. Client theft evidence, non-compete violations, misuse of company resources. It was beautiful in the way a perfectly timed cut sequence is beautiful, everything flowing together, building toward an inevitable conclusion. My phone rang. Guinevere. Hey, how's Jade? She's great. We're at Powell's now looking at the kids section. She wants every book about unicorns ever written. But Mirabelle, I need to tell you something else I heard Wednesday. I put her on speaker and kept working. I'm listening. They were talking about custody arrangements. Lawson said something about how you work such long hours that it would be better for Jade's stability if she lived with him primarily, that you'd been stressed lately and he was worried about your ability to balance work and parenting. My hands froze over the keyboard. He said that? Yeah. And Milena agreed with him. Said something about how dedicated mothers sometimes lose perspective, and that family courts recognize when a child needs a more stable primary residence. White-hot rage flooded through me, the kind that makes your vision sharp and your thinking clearer than it's ever been. Guinevere, do me a favor. Document everything. Write down exactly what you heard Wednesday. Date it. Time it. Every detail you remember. Can you do that? Already did. I've been keeping notes on my phone since Wednesday because I was terrified I'd forget something important if things went bad. This 20-year-old with purple hair was turning out to be the best investment I'd ever made. You're getting a raise, I told her. A significant one. I'll text you when I'm ready to pick up Jade. I hung up and stared at my laptop screen. The spreadsheet of evidence. The photos of their planning documents. The company policy handbook I'd pulled up showing clear violations. Then I opened a new document and started writing an email. Not to Lawson, not to Milena, to every single client on that list. The subject line was simple. Heads up, non-compete violations incoming. The body was professional, brief, and devastating. I pulled up the first client on the list, Marcus Brennan from Cascade Tech Solutions, and personalized the template. Dear Marcus, I'm reaching out to inform you of a developing situation that may affect our ongoing projects. It has come to my attention that 2 employees at our company are planning to leave and form a competing business, specifically targeting clients I've personally worked with over the past 5 years. This violates clear non-compete agreements and represents potential misuse of proprietary client information. I wanted to give you advance notice that you may be contacted by these individuals offering services through a new entity. I remain committed to delivering the high-quality work you've come to expect on the Cascade Tech promotional series, and wanted to ensure you had full context before any confusing communications arrive. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions or concerns. Best regards, Mirabelle Frost, Senior Video Editor. I customized each email. Sarah Torres at Emerald City Nonprofits got a reference to our recent fundraising video success. Dev Patel at Riverbend Construction got a mention of his daughter's soccer tournament we'd discussed last month. Amanda Walsh at Pacific Northwest Tourism got a joke about how many times we'd reshot the Columbia River Gorge footage. Made it personal without being dramatic. Then I saved them all as drafts. Didn't send them. Not yet. Because here's what I'd learned from 5 years of editing. Timing is everything. The best reveals happen at exactly the right moment for maximum impact. Instead, I opened a new email to our company's HR director and legal counsel. Attached my carefully organized evidence folders. Wrote a formal complaint about misuse of company resources, theft of proprietary information, and violation of employment agreements. Saved that as a draft too. Then I did something that felt simultaneously petty and completely justified. I changed all our shared passwords, streaming services, bank accounts, credit cards, everything that was jointly held. I wasn't locking him out maliciously. I was protecting assets before the inevitable legal proceedings. Very responsible. Very mature. My phone buzzed. Text from Lawson. Can we please talk about this? I stared at the message for a long moment. Thought about 3 months of lies. Friday morning plotting sessions. Rehearsed breakup speeches, plans to take my daughter and destroy my career. Replied, talk to my lawyer. I'll have their contact information for you by Monday. I didn't have a lawyer yet, but I would by Monday morning. Called my friend Paige from college. She'd gone to law school while I was learning Final Cut Pro, and now she practiced family law in downtown Portland. Left her a voicemail explaining the situation in bullet points. Asked if she could recommend someone who handled both divorce and employment disputes. She called back in 10 minutes. Mirabelle, holy hell. Yes, I know someone perfect. His name is Griffin Hale. He's a shark and he hates cheaters. I'll text you his number. Call him tonight. He does emergency weekend consultations. Thanks, Paige. Also, burn his life to the ground. Legally speaking, of course. Of course. I picked up Jade at 5:30. She was carrying a stack of unicorn books that cost approximately $1 billion and chattering about a dog she'd met at Powell's bookstore, completely oblivious to the fact that her family was imploding. Guinevere handed me a small notebook as Jade ran to the car. Everything I remember from Wednesday. Times, quotes, context. It's all there. I hugged her. Actually hugged her, which seemed to surprise both of us. Thank you for protecting her, for trying to warn me. For being braver than most adults I know. She blinked back tears. Is she going to be okay? Yeah, I said. We both are. That night, after Jade fell asleep surrounded by her new unicorn books, I sat in the sage green office and called Griffin Hale. He listened to my entire story without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. Mrs. Kemp, I'm going to ask you something important. Do you want to win, or do you want to destroy him? I thought about Lawson's face when I'd walked in that afternoon. Milena barefoot in my house. 3 months of calculated betrayal. Plans to take my daughter and paint me as an unfit mother. Both, I said. I want both, he laughed. Then we're going to get along just fine. Don't send those client emails yet. Don't file the HR complaint yet. Monday morning, we're going nuclear, but we're doing it strategically. Can you come to my office at 7 a.m.? I'll be there. Sunday was the longest day of my life. Jade asked twice where Daddy was. I told her he had to work on a big project and would see her soon. Not a lie, technically. His big project was figuring out how badly he'd miscalculated. Lawson texted 6 times, called 4. I ignored all of it. Monday morning at 6:45, I dropped Jade at Guinevere's apartment. She'd agreed to take her to school and pick her up all week if needed, and headed downtown. Griffin Hale's office had a view of the Willamette River and approximately 10,000 law books. He was 50-something, gray hair, expensive suit, and the kind of smile that probably made opposing counsel nervous. Mrs. Kemp, ready to ruin someone's Monday? I handed him my laptop with all the evidence organized into folders. He spent 20 minutes reviewing it, looked up at me with something like admiration. You did my job for me. This is airtight. What's the plan? First, we file the HR complaint at exactly 8 a.m., right when your company's executives arrive. Second, we send your client emails at 8:15, after HR has been notified but before anyone can warn the clients. Third, we file emergency custody paperwork citing his plan to relocate your daughter without consultation. Fourth, and this is my favorite part, we send cease and desist letters to both him and Ms. Sharp before they even get to the office. They're planning to give notice today, I said. They were going to announce the new company. His smile got sharper. Not anymore, they're not. Monday morning at exactly 8 a.m., Griffin Hale hit send on the HR complaint. I was sitting in his office, drinking coffee that probably cost more than my monthly streaming subscriptions combined, watching him work with the precision of a surgeon performing open-heart surgery on someone's entire life. HR complaint filed, he said. Now we wait exactly 15 minutes. Let them read it, panic, call emergency meetings, and then... His phone buzzed. He smiled. That's our company's legal counsel. Right on schedule. He let it go to voicemail. We'll call them back after we send the client emails. More leverage that way. At 8:14, I logged into my email and moved all those carefully drafted messages from my drafts folder to my outbox. Clicked send on every single one. Marcus Brennan at Cascade Tech Solutions. Sarah Torres at Emerald City Nonprofits. Dev Patel at Riverbend Construction. Amanda Walsh at Pacific Northwest Tourism. 15 clients total. 15 people who trusted me, who I'd built relationships with over years of late nights and deadline stress and creative problem solving. 15 people who were about to get very, very angry at Lawson and Milena. Client emails sent, I said. Griffin checked his watch. Cease and desist letters go out at 8:30. Your husband and Ms. Sharp should be arriving at the office right about now. I imagined Lawson pulling into the parking lot, probably rehearsing his resignation speech one more time. Probably thinking about how smooth this was all going to go, how they'd shake hands with management, announce their departure professionally, and walk out with their heads high and their new company ready to launch. My phone started ringing. Company number. Don't answer, Griffin said. Let them sweat. It rang 4 more times in the next 10 minutes. Different extensions. HR, legal. My direct supervisor. Even the CEO's office. At 8:32, Griffin's paralegal walked in with confirmation that the cease and desist letters had been delivered via email and certified mail to both Lawson's and Milena's work addresses. Now, Griffin said, we return the company's calls. He put the phone on speaker, called back our legal counsel, a woman named Victoria Barnes who I'd met twice at company parties and who always seemed vaguely exhausted by everything. Mr. Hale, she answered on the first ring. I assume you're representing Mrs. Kemp? I am, and I assume you've read the complaint? Every word, along with the rather substantial evidence packet. I've also been informed that multiple clients received emails from Mrs. Kemp this morning regarding potential non-compete violations. Accurate information provided to clients who deserved to know they were being targeted, Griffin said smoothly. Is there a problem? Long pause. Mr. Hale, I'm going to be frank with you. Mr. Kemp and Ms. Sharp arrived at the office this morning prepared to submit resignation letters. They are currently in a conference room with HR and our CEO, and the situation is becoming complicated. I imagine it would be, given the evidence of systematic planning to violate their employment agreements using company resources. We'd like to resolve this matter quickly and quietly. Griffin looked at me, raised an eyebrow. I nodded. Mrs. Kemp is open to discussing terms, he said. We're prepared to terminate Mr. Kemp and Ms. Sharp immediately for cause. No severance. We'll enforce the non-compete agreements aggressively. And we'd like to offer Mrs. Kemp a promotion to Director of Creative Development with a salary increase of 35%. I nearly choked on my expensive coffee. Griffin didn't even blink. 40% increase, full benefits review, and guaranteed primary assignment on all clients she's previously worked with. Mrs. Kemp's reputation and relationships are the company's most valuable assets in this situation. You need her more than she needs you right now. Another pause. Muffled conversation in the background. 40%. Agreed. Can Mrs. Kemp start today? She'll be there by 10 a.m., Griffin said. And gentlemen, Mrs. Kemp expects Mr. Kemp's personal belongings removed from their shared office before she arrives. He hung up. I stared at him. Did that just happen? That just happened. You're now Director of Creative Development with a 40% raise. Congratulations. My phone exploded with texts, all from clients. Marcus Brennan. Thanks for the heads up. Just told them we're staying with you exclusively. Good luck with everything. Sarah Torres. What? Called them immediately and said absolutely not. You okay? Dev Patel. My lawyer is already drafting a letter. Nobody messes with our projects. You need anything? Amanda Walsh. Wine night this week? You're buying because you just saved us from a disaster and also you probably need to vent. Every single client. Every single one had my back. Griffin filed the emergency custody paperwork at 9:15. By 9:45, Lawson's personal attorney, some guy from a strip mall office who probably handled DUIs and small claims disputes, called trying to negotiate. Griffin put him on speaker so I could hear him squirm. My client is willing to discuss reasonable custody arrangements. Your client was recorded by a witness planning to relocate the minor child without maternal consent while simultaneously attempting to destroy the mother's professional reputation and financial stability, Griffin interrupted. We have documented evidence of premeditated actions intended to harm his wife's ability to provide for their daughter. We're not negotiating, we're filing. Mr. Hale, surely we can reach an accommodation. Your client can see his daughter on supervised visits pending a full custody evaluation. Mrs. Kemp has primary physical custody effective immediately. If Mr. Kemp wants to discuss modification after he demonstrates stable employment and housing, difficult given his current unemployment status and pending legal actions, we can revisit in 6 months. The strip mall lawyer tried to argue. Griffin hung up on him mid-sentence. Supervised visits? I asked. Temporary. But it sends a message. Judge will likely move to standard joint custody eventually, but given his current instability and your documentation of his plans, you'll maintain primary custody. He can have every other weekend and 1 weeknight. Standard arrangement. I arrived at the office at 9:55. The receptionist looked at me like I'd risen from the dead. Mrs. Kemp, Director Kemp, your new office is ready. 3rd floor. Corner office with the good light. I took the elevator up. The corner office had windows overlooking downtown Portland, a desk approximately the size of my first apartment, and absolutely zero traces of Lawson's existence. My supervisor, now my colleague technically since we were the same level, knocked on my open door. Mirabelle, welcome to the executive floor. I'm sorry about everything you've been dealing with. Thanks, Julian. For what it's worth, we had no idea about any of this. When HR showed us the evidence this morning, the CEO nearly had an aneurysm. Lawson and Milena were escorted out by security around 8:45. Both of them, terminated for cause. No severance, no references, and legal is pursuing damages for misuse of company resources. The CEO wanted me to tell you that your client relationships are the only reason we're not facing a complete disaster right now. You saved multiple contracts today. He left. I sat in my new corner office with my 40% raise and looked out at the city where I'd spent 5 years building a career that my husband had tried to steal. My phone buzzed. Text from Lawson. "We need to talk about Jade." I forwarded it to Griffin with a note. "Handle this." Another text. This one from Guinevere. "Jade's kindergarten gets out at 2:45. Do you want me to pick her up or are you coming?" I checked my calendar. My first meeting as Director of Creative Development wasn't until 3:30. Replied, "I'll get her." "And Guinevere? Your raise is effective immediately. Check your account tomorrow." She sent back a string of heart emojis that somehow didn't feel annoying for once. At 2:30, I left my corner office, drove to Jade's school, and picked up my daughter. She ran to the car with a painting of what appeared to be either a horse or possibly a very aggressive cloud. "Mommy, look what I made!" "It's beautiful, baby. Want to get lunch? Can we go to the food truck? The one with the grilled cheese?" "Absolutely." We sat at a picnic table near the Willamette River. Jade ate grilled cheese with tomato soup while telling me an elaborate story about her friend Emma, who apparently had a pet hamster that could do math. I listened and nodded and felt something in my chest unclench for the first time in 4 days. My phone buzzed. Email from Marcus Brennan. "Mirabelle. Just wanted you to know that Lawson contacted me this morning trying to pitch Northwest Digital Studios. I told him what he could do with his proposal. You'll have the Cascade Tech contract renewal on your desk tomorrow. Congrats on the promotion." I smiled and took a bite of Jade's French fries. Lawson had calculated everything perfectly. The business plan, the client list, the office space, the custody arrangement, the timeline. He'd calculated everything except me. 6 months later, I'm sitting in that same corner office watching rain hit the windows, because this is Portland, and optimism about weather is for tourists, thinking about how one Friday in November completely redesigned my life. Lawson sees Jade every other weekend and Wednesday evenings. Standard custody arrangement, just like Griffin predicted. He moved to a 1-bedroom apartment in Beaverton and got a job at a marketing firm that pays about 60% of what he used to make. Turns out terminated for cause due to attempting to steal proprietary client information doesn't look great on a resume. Who knew? Milena left Portland entirely. Last I heard through the industry gossip network, which in Portland's creative scene operates faster than our overpriced light rail system. She's doing social media management for a car dealership in Spokane. The career trajectory she was aiming for took a slight detour through consequences. Northwest Digital Studios never opened. Hard to launch a business when you have no clients, no credibility, and a legal mess that would make most attorneys weep. The Pearl District office space they'd picked out got leased to a kombucha startup. Very Portland. Very ironic. Guinevere is taking online classes in digital media production while still watching Jade 3 afternoons a week. I quadrupled her rate and she's using the money to build a legitimate career. She also started a TikTok account called Red Flags I Ignored as Your Nanny that has 200,000 followers and counting. Her most viral video? When your boss's husband brings his girlfriend over and they don't realize you can hear everything from the kitchen. The comment section is therapy for people who've witnessed workplace dysfunction. She never names names, doesn't need to. The situations speak for themselves. I promoted 2 junior editors to senior positions and hired 3 new team members. Built the kind of department culture where people actually tell you when something's wrong, instead of keeping notes on their phones about your husband's affair planning. Revolutionary concept in corporate America. My relationship with clients got stronger. Turns out loyalty matters when you prove you'll protect people's interests, even when your personal life is imploding. Marcus Brennan sent a fruit basket so large it took 2 people to carry it into my office. Sarah Torres invited me to her nonprofit's annual gala. Dev Patel's daughter's soccer team won their tournament, and he sent me a photo of the trophy with a note saying, "Champions recognize champions." Amanda Walsh and I do have wine nights now, twice a month. We talk about work and life and the absolutely wild fact that my career nearly got stolen by people who couldn't even remember to delete their browser history. The divorce finalized in April. I kept the house. Lawson couldn't afford it anyway on his reduced salary, and with the legal fees his strip mall attorney charged him. Jade's room is exactly the same. Unicorn books still everywhere. Purple walls, string lights that look like stars. the stability she needed while her family reconfigured itself. I painted over the sage green in the home office. It's navy blue now. New color for a new chapter. Very symbolic. Very necessary. Griffin sent me a card this week on the 6-month anniversary of that Monday morning. It said, "Congratulations on 6 months of professional success built on competence instead of theft." His sense of humor is exactly as dry as his legal strategy. People ask me sometimes if I regret how it all went down, if I wish I'd handled it differently, given Lawson a chance to explain, been more forgiving. And I think about those 3 months of calculated lies, the rehearsed speeches, the plan to take my daughter and paint me as unstable, the notebook full of my clients' names in someone else's handwriting. No, I don't regret a single email. Here's what I learned. Betrayal teaches you exactly who you are when everything falls apart. Some people crumble. Some people negotiate. Some people forgive too quickly because conflict is uncomfortable. I'm not any of those people. I'm the person who takes photos of evidence, builds spreadsheets at midnight, and calls every single client before the thieves can get to them. I'm the person who protects what's mine. My daughter, my career, my reputation. With the same precision I use to edit footage. Lawson calculated everything except the fact that I'm better at strategy than he ever was at project management. Jade asked me last week why Daddy lives in a different house now. I told her the truth in 5-year-old terms. Sometimes grown-ups make choices that change things, and it's not her fault. And both her parents love her even when they can't live together. She thought about it seriously, then asked if we could get a hamster like her friend Emma has. Kids got her priorities straight. Every Friday, Jade and I still go to Voodoo Donut. Get the maple bacon ones before they sell out. Sit in my car in the parking lot and eat them while she tells me about school, and I tell her about work in simplified terms that somehow still capture the chaos of creative production. Last Friday, she asked if I was happy. I looked at her, syrup on her chin, unicorn backpack at her feet, completely secure in the knowledge that her mom had everything under control, and realized the answer was simple. Yeah, baby. I really am. Turns out the best revenge isn't just success. It's building a life so good that the people who tried to destroy you become irrelevant footnotes in your origin story. Lawson thought he was writing my ending. He was actually writing my beginning.